Today it is my honour and my privilege to speak on behalf of Young Labour in solidarity with the Palestinian people. 5 years ago, when I was in sixth form, my friends and I organised a fundraiser for Palestinian refugees in Gaza. This summer, I watched in horror as school children across the country face sanctions, punishments and even exclusions for doing exactly the same thing. I was horrified because I know how hopeless we all felt as we watched families being evicted from their homes in Sheikh Jarrah, as we watched neighbourhoods being ethnically cleansed in Silwan, as we watched civilians, even children, being shot in cold blood by the Israeli Defence Forces. I know how desperate we all were to do everything within our power to help the people of Palestine. To be told by head teachers and politicians no less that we shouldn't care about this suffering was an insult to our instinctive sense of justice. But comrades, this summer I also saw one of the Labour movement's greatest lessons put into action. In May, 200,000 of us marched in London calling for an end to the dispossession, occupation, exile and siege that the Palestinian people have faced for over 100 years. These were the largest pro-Palestine demonstrations that this country has ever seen, and the streets were overwhelmingly filled with young people. Conference, as a proud member of the GMB, I was so proud to see that day thousands of people marching under the banners of their trade unions. Because we cannot forget that from the ranks of the Labour movement, our comrades have fought and fallen in the fight against fascism in Spain, joined anti-colonial struggles across the global south and played a crucial role in ending apartheid in South Africa. Now it is my generation's turn to play our part in ending apartheid in Israel. My generation refuses to sit by while Palestinian civilians are shot by snipers and drones are marketed at arms fairs in East London. We refuse to sit by while our councillors are told that they can't divest from companies that violently enforce Israel's apartheid laws. We refuse to sit by while yet another generation of Palestinians lose their homes in this ongoing act of settler colonialism. This summer, inspired by the sacrifices of those who have struggled before us, we took to the streets to show our determination to answer the Palestinian people's call for solidarity, whatever it takes. Sometimes it's not easy to know exactly what that is, but comrades, the words, the gestures and the practical actions that we take at conference here today mean so much to a people who have been struggling for their most basic rights for far too many years. The motion before you today will not only send our uncompromising solidarity to the Palestinian people by calling for sanctions against a state that is practicing war crimes, it will bring us one step closer to finally ending a shameful century of British complicity in the denial of their rights to self-determination, liberation and return. This motion is about the next generation of Palestinians. Those children who were born refugees, about giving them a chance at a future in which they can be free. It is also about the next generation of the Labour movement, about breaking with our imperial past and enacting our foundational principles, solidarity and internationalism. As the great hero of the global anti-apartheid struggle once said, we know all too well that our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of the Palestinians. Please support the motion, Free, Free Palestine!
The Labour movement and GMB stand for peace and against the inequality, oppression and discrimination faced by Palestinian people. And we stand with those who seek to achieve a negotiated and lasting peace. 2 years ago, I had the privilege of visiting Palestine as part of a delegation of women trade unionists, and many are in this hall today. We were all shocked by what we saw. The concrete walls, the checkpoints, the denial of basic services, lack of access to water, and the demolition of houses. What I saw changed my life. And my union is clear. We must condemn and bring real pressure on the Israel state to dismantle these instruments of oppression.
I have had the privilege to have visited Palestine on 4 occasions. In the course of my visits and my time in Palestine, I have made many friends and contacts. Let me tell you about my friend in Gaza. I cannot tell you her name or how we met, as this might put her at risk. We discovered that we have a lot in common. We are both mothers, we are both teachers, we are both well educated, but there the similarity ends. Israel has been holding the Gaza Strip under blockade since June 2007. Instead of clean water, my friend and her family have severe water restrictions due to infrastructure neglect and water pollution. Such restrictions do not apply to the vast majority of Israeli citizens living in Israel. I do not find my electricity cut off just when the kids need to do their homework, but my friend's home power supply is often restricted to just 4 hours a day. I have been double jabbed. My friend in Gaza is still waiting to have her first vaccination. Meanwhile, 70% of Israeli citizens have been fully vaccinated. These are some of the daily examples of discrimination faced by my friend in Gaza. These are some of the examples of what is now a form of systematic oppression and control by Israel over the Palestinian people. Conference, if we as a party are to make any serious contribution to help resolve this injustice, based on international law, we must confront the reality recognised by our TUC colleagues in 2020 and 2021, affirmed by Human Rights Watch and B'Tselem, Israel's leading human rights body, this year,
now, Delegate.
That Israel is practising the crime of apartheid as defined under the Rome Statute. Conference, my friend deserves justice. Conference, the people of Palestine deserve justice.
Can you wind up
Please
now,
support
Delegate?
Composite 1.
Thank you.
What has changed in the last year is the unified response to their oppression by Palestinians across the region, to the forced eviction of Palestinian families from their homes in Sheikh Jarrah and the horrific bombing of Gaza earlier in the year. Thanks to the spotlight of the world's media that shone on these events, the attention of people globally was focused on the untenable situation.
Come on, last sentence now. Thank you.
I'm coming up here to protest and complain about the chair, both today and yesterday in the running of conference. Yesterday, there were over 20 speakers on the housing and transport motions, and we overran for over an hour. Today, the chair has deliberately curtailed speakers to four speakers on Palestine debate, which they deliberately want to curtail. This is shameful management by the chair and the curtailing of debate and democracy within this party, and it's shameful.
Now on the motions, Composite 1, Israel and Palestine. All those in favour, please show. Those against? That is carried.